if you're talking to out-of-state investors, right, they go, ooh, Pittsburgh's a great place to do a fix and flip. Yes, that is very true. That street that you found this like amazing deal, right, in this hot zip code, amazing cheap house. Gosh, I can't believe it's so cheap. There's a reason. It's because that street is full of crack houses, and the street behind it is full of $500,000, $750,000 houses. Extensively knowing these neighborhoods is what determines whether or not it's going to make sense to do a high-end renovation.
All right. Welcome to the North Fork Experience, the podcast where we explore the journeys of exceptional individuals and businesses shaping our communities and industries. I'm your host, Kirk Hays, and today we have a seasoned leader in the Pittsburgh real estate market. She's a broker and owner and a realtor renowned for her expertise in property management and high-end renovations. Please welcome Lydia Holton.
Hello. Thank you.
Lydia, fantastic to have you. Let's dive right into your North Fork experience. Lydia, your main focus in property management is protecting owners' interest and enhancing property performance. What are the top 2 or 3 strategies you implement to ensure a beneficial experience for both tenants and owners simultaneously?
So we work with individuals on many different levels, right? So we have customers who are first-time home buyers. We have seasoned real estate investors. We have, the empty nesters, whatever. So our brokerage focuses on speaking to the individual where they are, right? Being a good agent, being a good realtor really requires you to have many different hats, right? And not just different specialties, but different ways of communicating with those individuals. I always say that a good realtor is a really good chameleon. Part of meeting the buyer or the seller where they are is a skill and a gift, I guess, that really makes a successful realtor. So part of my training in our brokerage is, kind of psychological. So identifying what that individual is looking for from you and making sure they get that from us.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure you're working with people in all different stages of their life, whether they're looking for maybe a second investment, they're looking for a starter home, or like you said, empty nesters looking to downsize. It's you got to really be a people person in your line of work to see where people are in their journey and then kind of match them with where they need to be as far as a house goes or an investment property.
For sure. Yeah. So, I really focus on all of us being real people. It's not about putting on a show. The buyer that you meet at the house doesn't care, if your heels are $500 Louboutins or if they are Crocs. They're there to meet you. So.
Yeah, they want to meet a real person that they can talk to and trust to work with them through that process. So being genuine is a big part of that for sure.
For sure. Focus.
So exceptional communication skills are noted as a key driver of your team's impressive achievements at Luxe Realty and GenLuxe Management Services. What does exceptional communication look like in high-end stakes environment of property management, and how do you train your team on this?
So my big, I guess, phrase, so much so that there's a sign on my desk that says this, is it in writing? Okay. I love person-to-person communication. I love jumping on a phone call. That's great. However, in my years of experience, you have to have things in writing.
Yep.
And unfortunately, we're in the age where you can text, you can email, you can, voicemail, and then it goes to text. So what I try to make sure that our agents and anyone who works for either of the companies is good at is documentation and clear and concise communication. Unfortunately, that is missing in a lot of other places.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So, to me, you can't over communicate. You really can't. So if you have a phone conversation with someone and you're getting details together, what I recommend our agents do is have that conversation. Great. Person to person, voice to voice, amazing. And then send a follow-up email and say, hey, I just want to make sure I got all this right. Blah, 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 blah. That way you cover your bases.
Yep.
It's all about CYA.
You got it. Yep. Yeah, I like to call it trust but verify. So like we talked a little bit before we started recording there, I've worked as an engineer in the oil and gas industry for a long time, and CYA was very important for us because, some face-to-face conversations got misconstrued sometimes, and you just needed to make sure that this was what people wanted when millions of dollars were on the line,
For
and
sure.
it's something that's important that you really need to pay attention to.
And like you said, I mean, in a lot of these cases, this is, well, most people's cases, this is the biggest purchase they've ever made in their life and probably ever will. So you have to have the clear communication.
Absolutely. Yep. So you are vigilant in adhering to complex real estate regulations, including the Federal Fair Housing Act and Pennsylvania state laws. What is the most common regulatory pitfall you see property owners or less experienced managers fall into, and how do you help them avoid it?
So I'm a fair housing nerd. Okay. Like that is my jam. Kind of backing up. Part of why I became a broker is because I am a nerd when it comes to laws, regulations, rules.
Mm-hmm.
So that really appealed to me. The thing that I see the most as far as fair housing violations, things like that, not applying the same constraints or, I guess, rules to each and every person that applies for a property.
Okay. Yep.
Right. So it's very easy for a person or a property manager, or whoever's doing the leasing, to say, "Oh, but look, they have a family. They would.
Mm-hmm.
It's much better for them to have this house." But you can't do that.
Yep.
That's very common violation of fair housing. Same thing, hey, maybe a family of, husband, wife, baby wants to move into a one bedroom. If it's allowed by occupancy code, then and they fit all of the qualifications, then you let them have that. You know what I
Yep.
mean? You don't get to make a determination on whether or not you would do that or that would be comfortable for them. It's not your business.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So that I think that's, applying the same standards to everyone is probably the biggest pitfall. It's just human nature, right?
Yeah. I can see that how some people, may think they know a little bit better about what someone wants, or, they have some different considerations than other people might. But yeah, you can't let your own personal feelings get in the way of that. And you got to kind of treat everybody the same. And it's a good thing that you value that for sure.
100%. I see it all the time in other property management places, and I'm like,
I'm sure. So switching gears here a little bit, your proficiency in high-end renovations and property maintenance distinguishes you in the Pittsburgh competitive real estate scene. How do you decide when a renovation should be high-end versus standard? And what is the ROI you look for in these projects?
that's a very good question. I like to say that the Pittsburgh real estate market is very segmented. We're a small city.
Mm-hmm.
And so it depends on who you're talking to. So if you're talking to out of state investors, right, they go, "Ooh, Pittsburgh's a great place to do a fix and flip." Yes, that is very true. However, that street that you found this like amazing deal, right, in this hot zip code, amazing cheap house. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it's so cheap. There's a reason. It's
Mm-hmm.
because
Yep.
that street is full of crack houses, and the street behind it is full of 500,000, 750,000 houses. So I think that extensively knowing these neighborhoods is what determines whether or not it's going to make sense to do a high-end renovation, right?
Yep.
Of course, if you follow real estate trends and you follow the data and all of the info that's out there and look for, kind of neighborhoods or blocks that are on the edge of the expansion of the gentrification,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and you really kind of dive into those numbers, you can really help out your investors and say, "Hey man, like I've seen the creep, it's coming. Let's get in here, let's do this, let's set the comp," right?
Yeah. Yep.
Let's set the comp. And there are investors that are open to that risk, and there are some that are not.
Yeah.
You really
Absolutely.
kind of have to know your investor. You have to be very, very knowledgeable as far as a particular property, a street, a block, a zip code, a neighborhood, etc. You have to know your stuff, and then you can apply what level of renovation we're going to do. Are we going to do all out? We're going to go high end. We're going to do all of the things, or are we going to go we'll do it mid. And then, maybe as you go along, you can upgrade. So yeah, I mean, I'm so completely interested in all of the stats,
Mm-hmm.
um, and all of the neighborhoods because it is so interesting. And I love talking about it with people that aren't here in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm working with a group out of New York City, right? They said, we want to invest in Pittsburgh. We're going to have 300 doors by the end of 26. I'm like, I'm here for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. And having to, they'll send me, oh, I saw this deal. I saw this, this came up. I'm like,
Yeah. Might want to stay out of that neighborhood, maybe. Yeah.
no, we're not doing that. So I have to explain to them. And yeah, they'll fight me a little bit. They fought me a little bit at first until I
Uh-huh.
started like proving that I knew what I was talking about.
Yeah, and that's why it's so important to have someone that's so experienced in a local market like that. And I mean,
Yeah,
every city especially has, I feel like, differences from zip code to zip code. But I
for
always kind
sure.
of feel like maybe Pittsburgh. I don't know if it's the rolling hills or all the rivers, but I felt like it's always maybe a little bit more disjointed, might be the word. But
I like that word.
from neighborhood to neighborhood, there's pretty drastic changes from time to time, just from my little bit of experience there.
It's crazy. It really is. And I've had people from across the country say the same thing. Hey, we thought we knew what we were doing.
Uh huh.
And I'm like, no, I will go take pictures of that street for you. I will
Huh.
take a video driving down that street at 8 o'clock at night,
Uh
and
huh.
we'll talk about it.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. So, daily operational management is a core part of your role. What is one workflow or process you've implemented that has significantly increased the efficiency or profitability of the properties you manage?
So, we started out I come from a background in property management. I worked for other people. Okay. I myself managed 130 properties in Southside in the city. I'm not from the city. I am from a tiny town in southern Missouri. Yeah. Yeah. So my first job here in Pittsburgh was in the city.
Uh huh.
Okay. I'd never dealt with traffic. I'd never dealt with city. Basically grew up on a farm. So it really was a kind of a baptism by fire.
I'm sure.
I ended up loving it. And I created I was the only property manager. Okay. I was it. I did property management. I did project management. I did maintenance coordination. I did it all for an owner. So I kind of created my best practices based on myself. All right, what worked for me. So when I started this company, my business partner and I started this company, I all I knew was just what worked for me.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
bringing on, we've brought on a couple of other property managers, a leasing agent. So I think that the main thing that has helped us grow so quickly is implementing like daily huddles. So we have a on Mondays, we go over anything that's happened over the weekend, any outstanding work orders, maintenance requests, leasing that we have, et cetera, et cetera. And then every day we touch base, just a quick huddle and say, what are the big topics for today? What do you need me to look at? What do you need me to kind of, smooth along? What owners do I need
Yep.
to talk to,
Absolutely.
et cetera? And we communicate constantly on Slack. So we have an open Slack channel where we just back and forth, back and forth. So we don't have to jump on the phone with each other. I can be doing other things, working on the business instead of in the business as much now because I have fantastic employees who are very, very good at communication. So I would say that that's probably the biggest key to the smoothness of our operation. I've worked very hard to set up and create SOPs for our business, specifically for our business. So I always say if one of us goes and gets hit by a bus tomorrow, somebody can come in and have an idea of what's going on. We also utilize Trello, which is, I'm sure you're familiar with Trello. We have created our own, what we call swim lanes, and we make cards for whatever's going on. We have tasks, we have, past due rent, who's in notice to quit status, who's in eviction status. I think we have like 20 different swim lanes, and I can literally open that up at any time and I can tell you exactly what is going on, which is very important to me. It was kind of a struggle for me to get used to because I was always the only one who did anything. So I knew everything that was going on. The owners didn't care. They just let me run it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I think those three things, and just, I respect the hell out of the employees that work for us. They're amazing people and they're younger. And I told one of our leasing / property manager, I said, she's all excited. She's like, "Oh, I can't wait to help people. It's going to be so amazing. People are going to be so grateful." I'm like, "Honey, talk to me in 6 months
Uh-huh.
and tell me how much you like people now." No,
Uh-huh.
it's just, you kind of got to get a hardened shell, right? Yeah. We run it as a business, not as an emotional.
You have to. Yeah,
You
there's
have
going to be
to.
some decisions that you're going to make that aren't the most comfortable decisions to make, but you just have to make them. Yeah, as you mentioned there, your team's just so critical, and I'm sure it was difficult for you, especially at first, to hand over the reins a little bit. But when
A little
you
bit.
got good people that you can work with, it really makes that a little bit easier. So
Such a blessing. I mean, when I was out for my ACL repair, right? I was actually, in the first time in my life, I've owned many businesses throughout my life. I've always been the business, right? The business was
uh-huh.
me. And at this point, I was able to say, "Hey, Amber, hey, Ramon, take over. Okay. I'll check in. I'll keep, updated, keep myself updated, but I trust you." And huge, huge for me.
Yeah,
So yeah, so now I'm able to kind of concentrate on recruiting, welcoming new owners and investors. We're set to grow. We have scalable growth, and I can concentrate on that, which is kind of my specialty, right? I can go out and
absolutely.
talk to investors. I can talk and say, why we're the better choice. So that it's yeah, fabulous.
Excellent. Yeah, happy to hear that for sure. So your commitment and authenticity have cultivated a robust reputation and a loyal referral network. In a market where many managers compete on price, how does authenticity become your most powerful tool for attracting and retaining clients?
I think you said it, being authentic. So we talk a lot about that in the brokerage. It's very easy to fall in the pit of comparison, right? And what we're comparing ourselves against is social media, which is ridiculously not real life. One of my strengths throughout, I guess, my life has been how real I am. I don't put on a front. I don't act like I'm anybody else. And it's always been commented on, no matter what industry I was in. You're just so real. You're so real. You're just like me. Blah blah blah. And so I wanted to make sure that the agents that we attract are also real. If you want to go on social media and you want to talk about your day, you want to talk about your wins and your losses, awesome. Okay. But don't go up there putting on airs like you're better than everybody else.
Yep.
That's not how we attract clients. We attract clients by being the most knowledgeable agents out there. Education and knowledge of the industry, of real estate, of the laws and regulations is key for myself and any of our agents.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've taken the agreement of sale and broken it down line by line, and we've done it every week. And I don't just read the line, I talk about what that is and what that means in real life, real life situations.
Uh-huh.
Because to me, if you can offer that level of expertise to a client, they're going to come back. It doesn't matter how big the basket is you give them at closing. Okay. If you were able to answer their questions and help them and negotiate on their behalf and get them the best deal, that's what's going to keep you in their top of their mind.
Yep. Yeah, gain their trust and make the process smooth, be knowledgeable and be real and upfront about maybe any problems you have, especially. I think that's one of the biggest things is that I like always like getting ahead of problems and being upfront about them. And some people try to, sweep them under the rug, and that's
For
obviously
sure.
not the correct way to do business. And that's just,
No,
it sounds like
no.
you're really good at handling that sort of aspect of business too. So
People need to know and make their own decisions. I'm not the one to make the decision for them.
absolutely. So switching gears here a little bit, focusing on the Pittsburgh market, what is one unique challenge or opportunity specific to rental property management in that area that you don't see in other major metro areas?
That is a very good question. Something we don't see as much of. Well, we have University of Pittsburgh, we have Carnegie Mellon, and we have like Carlow University. We have a ton of universities, okay? And they're all pretty much in the same little
On
area.
top of each other, yeah.
Yeah, on top of each other. I know that there's other markets that have a high amount of students. I think in Pittsburgh, space is an issue, right? I'm sure it is in New York City and all those other big places, but space really is an issue, especially when you're talking about neighborhoods that are so close to the universities that all they can be pretty much is student rentals, right? I mean, what average family wants to live next to a house full of 8 college guys, right? So one thing that kind of sets the rental market apart as far as student rentals goes is learning how to navigate neighborhoods that still want to be neighborhoods that appeal so highly to the college students looking for a place to live, right? So kind of because you're always going to have, Sour Sally that has lived on that block for 100 years and is never going to like whatever happens at the next door place that is now a student rental. So being able to kind of be the in between and satisfy Sour Sally by being proactive and very quickly reactive when it's required. Because Sour Sally can report your property to the city
Yep.
and get it pretty much shut down.
Uh-huh.
So you have to be the one that kind of smooths everything over. You have to make it to where Sour Sally still wants to stay and is very happy. And if she is angry that your trash cans are out past 6 o'clock, then you make sure your tenants know that at 6 o'clock, you get those trash things in and you start finding the tenants and let Sour Sally know that that's what you're doing, that you are working on it and you are there, because there are a ton of absent landlords here. Because we are so prime for investment, we get a ton of out of town investors who think they can manage it from 3,000 miles away. So they want to try to do that. That's fine. They'll eventually come to their senses and get a property manager. But in the meantime, we want to set ourselves apart by being the ones who are reactive and proactive to the situations before they occur for the neighborhood to function as it should.
Yeah, in some ways, I know your title says property manager, but you're as much of a relationship manager as anything. It's just smoothing over all those different personalities that you run into. I'm sure can be difficult at times.
And that it's the same way in real estate as well. On the sales side, you've got to be the grease that greases the wheels.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. That makes sense.
Your ego does not matter when it comes to a deal. Your ego does not matter when it comes to someone who's complaining about their place or the neighbor's place. It's not about you.
Yep.
It's not about you. So
absolutely. So looking ahead, what key trends or shifts do you anticipate in the Pittsburgh rental and property management market, especially concerning technology or tenant expectations?
So what we're seeing, this is a very unique time, right? We're 5 years post-COVID. Okay. COVID, I'm not going to say the same thing that everybody else says, turned us upside down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it did. So what is interesting in our market is that we still are very, very affordable as far as investors coming in to buy investments. And rent wise, we are still very affordable. There's pockets, right? There's pockets where you can charge a premium for being right next door to Pitt or right next door to Carnegie Mellon or right across the river from Duquesne. But for the most part, we are still very reasonable. The challenge is, and because I have both sides of it, right? I have the sales side, the brokerage, and the rental side. Yep. So for me to say, makes much more sense to buy a house. Or for me to say, oh, no, it makes much more sense to rent. No, I will never make those statements because different situations require different forms of living environment, right? We have a great, Pittsburgh is turning into such a great tech mecca in the United States because of all of our universities here, that we have short-term short-term employees, right? That it doesn't make sense for them to buy a house in the city, in the strip district, or in Squirrel Hill or whatever, where they're spending $500,000, $750,000 on something. They're not going to be here long enough. So Pittsburgh provides the high-end rentals that they can well afford and still gives them the opportunity to live in a neighborhood, plant the temporary roots.
Yep.
Yet we also are very, very, we have Pittsburgh and then we have Pittsburgh Metro. Pittsburgh Metro, the suburbs are fantastic and so varied. So no matter what, I really feel like in Pittsburgh, no matter what you're looking for, what kind of living arrangement, what kind of nature you want to see, what kind of neighborhood really speaks to you, you're going to find it. People in Pittsburgh, we have the Three Rivers, right? People that live in the South Hills of Pittsburgh, they won't go to the North Hills. Show them the best house ever in the North Hills, and they'll be like, oh no, I don't cross the rivers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what?
Yeah.
So what do I see in the future? I still see a real good balance. I feel like we have a very good balance of rental options as far as, lower end starting out rentals. We have some amazing high end rentals, especially down in the city and downtown, because we have such a varied population.
Yep.
We're still very, like I said, still very affordable. Although all these articles that are out there, that's going to make us not so affordable. I'm telling you. Every time I get on Facebook, it's like, oh, Pittsburgh's the most affordable city. Pittsburgh's the most
Stop. Yeah, letting your secret out. Yeah.
Yeah. And how does tech evolve into that? We're all so mobile now. We're all so mobile. You can work anywhere. You can live anywhere and work anywhere. A lot of people. And I think that is contributing to a lot of the expansion of the Pittsburgh metro area. I think now Washington County is considered part of Washington County is considered Pittsburgh metro. 10, 15 years ago, probably not.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a unique take for sure. I always really like Pittsburgh as an area. I grew up in a really rural area too, here north of Pittsburgh, and it took me going away and seeing some other cities, I think, to get a real true appreciation of like, hey, Pittsburgh's a pretty cool little unique city. It's small, it still has like a neighborhood feel to it, and you don't really get that in a lot of the other big cities. It also, I always like Pittsburgh because, half an hour outside the city, you're in, wooded areas and there's parks, and it's just a really unique place for sure.
It is. You can drive 5 minutes out the city and you're looking for deer crossing the road.
Yep, absolutely. It's a unique place for sure.
It is.
So Lydia, this conversation's been incredibly insightful, highlighting your dedication, expertise, and operational excellence required to succeed in property management. Your North Fork experience offers invaluable lessons to anyone in the real estate investment space. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Before we wrap up, for our listeners in the Pittsburgh area who are looking for a seasoned broker to manage their rental properties, or who are inspired by your story and want to connect, what's the best way for them to reach out to you or learn more about Luxe Haven Realty and GenLuxe management services?
Love to speak with anyone that wants to know anything about this market, because I will tell them. You can reach me at my phone number, which is area code 412-204-7129. That's our office number. Email would be, you could do info at genluxe.com for our property management. It's GENNLUXE.com, or info at luxhavenhomes.com.
Perfect. We will make sure we include those details in the show notes. That's all for this episode of the North Fork Experience. A huge thank you again to our incredible guest, Lydia Holton, and thank all of you for tuning in. Until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep experiencing all that our communities have to offer. Thank you.
Thank you.